Okay, welcome to the Peeps interview. This week, our guest is Neelam Nanwani. She is a shamanic healer and a practitioner. For her, shamanism is not just another healing modality, it's a way of life, a way from which anything and everything evolves. She is also a highly evolved facilitator in the areas of shadow work, transgenerational wounds, and inner child work. She also teaches about dream work as practiced in indigenous shamanic societies and how we can use the gifts of dreams to heal, evolving into a being a voice for the divine feminine and empowered woman. Neelam is an international teacher, guide, and shamanic counselor whose voice represents the voice of the collective youth. She has risen from her own pain, abuse, and strife to remember, reclaim, and rediscover her true power and potential. I present to you Neelam. Thank you, Neelam, for agreeing to do this interview with Peace for Animals. I'm really excited to have you finally.
Thank you for having me, Anu, and it's always a pleasure to talk and share about these teachings. So thank you so much.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's start with the thing like, what is shamanism? Because there's a lot of misconceptions, there's a lot of gray area over there, people who don't understand it. So I would like you to start with the like what is it exactly, so
Yeah.
explain us.
So shamanism is one of the world's most ancient form of spiritual practice. It goes back 10,000 years, and in some cultures even 100,000 years. It is a way of life. It is a way of living. It is a way in which our ancient ancestors, our indigenous people lived, and the path that they followed. It is not a healing modality. It has a lot of healing components, and one can heal using the shamanic ways. But it is not a practice that you do half an hour in the day, like you meditate and you drum and you play and you pray, or you do some affirmations and find some time. It is how we live. It is a way of life, and it is a spiritual practice which is existent in all cultures across the world. There are Native American ways, there are Southern American shamanic ways. It's followed in Asia, it's followed in the tribal regions of India, it is there in New Zealand, Australia. So basically, it is the crux of all the cultures. It is the practice which was given to the first people of the earth, to the indigenous people, how to live, what to do, how to seek wisdom, the way, how to live life, how to heal. These were the practices that were given to all the indigenous cultures. So the ritual aspect of the practice may differ from culture to culture. But if you study all cultures and go to the crux of it and go to the root of it, all teachings are the same. And so shamanism is a universal practice. It is not something which is very alien. It is very prevalent in India too, and it runs parallel to a lot of religious practices, including Hinduism, which is also a way of life. So shamanism is nothing which one has to be afraid of, or is something alien or learning something foreign. It is very much a part of our culture, our Indian culture as well. It's how we live life. It's how we live close to nature. And so these indigenous practices, which we have forgotten, and now coming back to the forefront. And we are just remembering them because they are a part of our DNA. It is believed that when somebody gets a calling to learn shamanism, it is because he or she have already practiced shamanism in some of their past lives. Their ancestors have already followed the path, and it is very much a part of the DNA. And so when we learn shamanism, we just remember what we already know. We are going back to our roots. So it's a very sacred path. It's the teachings which are coming back now with the return of the divine feminine and the changes that we are going through in our current lifetimes, in our current times. And so it is a very sacred path.
So I mean, one thing I just want to know, when you say ki, like you have that calling, and when for somebody is kind of recognizes that calling, like how do you get that feeling ki, like okay, I is it like you are attracted to this practice suddenly
Yeah,
out of the blue,
yeah, you
or
may
like
read
you
the
will.
word shamanism and you may get attracted to it. You may be following certain aspects and you may not know that you are following shamanism or shamanic way of being. Yeah, our closeness to nature or just a pull towards the practice. You heard shamanism, it stayed with you. You keep researching it, you get confused, you don't understand what it is because there are 1,001 pages of shamanism and they all confuse. But you still keep getting attracted to it. It is a calling, you want to learn it, but you don't know what it is, but you're getting pulled to it. So that is a calling basically. And so When spirit, it's believed that when you're ready, spirit calls you to this path. And when spirit calls you to this path, it's time for you to learn these teachings. It's a time for you to embody. It's a time for you to learn, and it's a time for you to remember.
Okay, so it's always there inside us. It's just that we just, I mean, when the time comes automatically, like
Yeah,
we get this feeling, like, okay, now we have to get into it. Is that
yeah, yeah, yeah. And so, if we listen to the
so?
calling, then we shall know that this was always a part of us, and we lived like that, or our ancestors lived like that, and it feels very one with the practice.
Okay, so now I'd like to know, how did you become a shaman and how did you recognize your calling? Like, what was it like and how long it's it been since
First
you've
of
been?
all, a small correction. I am not a shaman. I follow the shamanic way of being. I follow the shamanic path and the shamanic teachings. What we ourselves call ourselves in the contemporary shamanic world as shamanic practitioners, and that too, even if we follow the path fully and 100% do the justice to the teachings. The word shaman, unfortunately, has become very glamorous, which people like to add to their titles. It is not a title, it is a path, it is a way of living. The reason we don't call ourselves a shaman because we have not gone through formalized initiations in the indigenous societies. The the people who are shaman are born in the indigenous societies and have gone through years and years and years of initiation in the indigenous societies to be able to become a shaman. We in the contemporary modern day urban world, just what we can do is to remember these teachings and to learn and to embody the shamanic path in the best way possible, because we have no tools and ways to go through those indigenous initiations which the ancient man, which the indigenous societies went through. So what we are is the people who follow the shamanic path. We are shamanic counselors, we are shamanic teachers, we are shamanic practitioners. The way I became a shamanic practitioner, it has always been a way of living, just that I did not know it. I connected very strongly to nature. I spoke to the wind. I was very connected to nature all the time. Even I remember as a child when I used to sweep the floor in my dad's house, and the wind would come and the dust would keep getting scattered on the terrace, and I would speak to the wind to flow gently or to flow in a different direction, and the wind would oblige, and the wind would listen, and the direction of the wind would change, and I was able to conveniently sweep the floor and do my bit. I would talk to the plants, I would talk to the trees. I would be very aware that when I step my foot on the grass is alive and it would get hurt. So these things, I would sit at night after my studies are over as a student and look for hours and hours and hours at the sky and the magnificent night and the star kingdom, and the stars attracted me a lot, and I would sit on the swing and I would sit on the chair in the balcony of my father, on the terrace of my father's house, and I would look at these stars. And at that time I did not even know something like Star Nation exists, but I would be fascinated by the night and the darkness and the winds and the birds and the trees and the nature. So as a child, all these aspects were very dear to me, and I was a very quiet child. I was a very introverted child. I would not mix up. I was the odd one out, and I was not like the other children. I am still am the black sheep of the family. But yeah, these aspects were always a part of me. And then life happened, and the spiritual path formally happened, and something was amiss. I learned various healing modalities. I learned hypnotherapy, crystals, angels, quantum, Reiki, you name it. Part of angels and part of other healing aspects as well. But the answers that I was seeking, the quest, the spiritual care quest, didn't feel complete. It felt something is incomplete. And then, of course, like everybody else, the word keeps coming your way. I got curiouser and curiouser, and although formally I did not know what the word meant, although it was a way of being in my own way, it attracted. And then slowly things started unfolding, and the teachings came my way very formally, and then I was able to learn them in a structured way, and they became second nature. I always knew that this was always a part of me, so it didn't feel new when I learned formally, went through shamanic teachings. It did not feel new, and it always felt that this I knew. So it was enough for me to understand them once, and then it would restructure back into my DNA, and it would become a part of me. And that's how, in my entire spiritual life, the moment I embarked on shamanism and whichever teaching came my way, which is a part of the shamanic way of being, even the womb work that I offer now, the divine feminine work, or the dream work, or the working with the ancestors, or working with our inner demons, which we in the modern day psychological world call the shadow work. This was ancient times, all a part of the shamanic way of being, and it just felt I was remembering it, and it was just learning about it one time was enough, and it would kind of become a part of me very easily, which others take a while to absorb and integrate. So yeah, that's how the path unfolded for me through going through various spiritual teachings and realizing it as a part of my calling. And then once I learned shamanism, everything felt complete. I did not need to kind of go and knock other spiritual doors or learn other spiritual modalities because, as I said, it found home in me and I found home in my shamanic way of being and the other teachings which did open up and came my way. Lord behold, I found it, they were practiced in the indigenous societies as well. For example, few years of shamanic teachings and dream work came my way. And I did not fall upon the Jungian or the psychological way, the way dream work is done. I fall upon the teachings in the way dream work was practiced in the indigenous societies. The books that came my way, the teachers that came my way, and the knowledge about dream work that came my way was also very shamanic. And so the pieces of the puzzle just went on fitting, tuck, 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 and it fell on being completed. Even now, shamanism is an ongoing learning. Whatever teachings are coming my way, the feminine teachings, the feminine principle called me a few years ago, and even when I embarked on those teachings, they felt very close to shamanism. And I realized the women in the ancient times were the first shamans. The medicine women, the medicine path or the path of the shamanic way of being was held by the wisdom keepers, which were women. And so every dot in my life has always connected and led me back to my shamanic way of being. Even the empowered woman teachings that I teach, they are open for everybody, but they closely connect to the shamanic way of being. In shamanism, we've called something called the medicine wheel. I realized when I embarked on the divine feminine teachings, the medicine wheel is very much a part of a woman's body. And so all teachings very beautifully connected me to my shamanic way of being, and that's how my path unfolded.
So you're trying to say that shamanism, it's a very vast study. I mean, it's not just something limited or spiritual healing or anything or to with that. It's a amazingly vast, which
It's
is
very
like
vast. If I were to give you an example, imagine yourself, imagine a wheel,
hmm,
and then you have the center of the wheel, which is the crux, which holds together all the spokes. So
hmm.
shamanism is that crux, is that center of the wheel. And all the spokes are bodies of wisdom which have evolved from shamanic way of being. Shamanism was the first spiritual practice given to the first people of the earth. Quantum physics, touch therapy, crystals, DNA healing, all the other new age modalities, astronomy, astrology, psychology, all the various branches of healing that we know today have gradually, over a period of time, over thousands of years, evolved and emerged from shamanic way of being. So that is why shamanism feels complete to me because it is everything. It has led me back to the indigenous way of teachings, indigenous way of knowledge and living and wisdom. And I don't need to search anywhere else because it is from shamanism that everything else evolved. And so once I go back to shamanism, it it is all these spokes which are connected. So I may then it depends on me in which area do I want to deepen my expertise. As I said, me and Paul are still learning, and so it's an ongoing study. It's so deep. It's of course it's vast, and it has various branches. It has various aspects of study. Uh, the the working with the land, working with the departed souls, working with our own soul, working with ancestors, working with dreams, working with nature, elements, our own bodies, our own wombs. These are different. These are few and different facets of the shamanic work. So it's yeah, definitely very deep and definitely very vast.
I remember reading somewhere like with the shamans, they used to help with the hunting also. Like when the
Yeah.
hunters, they would be going for the to hunt, they would exactly tell ki like, okay, there's a, like, you can go there, you will find one, and but then they would only, like, never became greedy. Like, it's not that ki, like, they wanted one, they would kill one and bring that one. So shamans would help with that also. How was that possible for them to, like, kind of visualize, okay, there is a, like, you go
So,
in this direction and you will find one.
yeah, the shamans
So
in the ancient times, and this is the practice that we also teach, which is called the shamanic journey. They had the ability to travel from the physical reality to the alternative realities. The alternative realities where our guides and our spirit world is, where our power animals are, where our guides and spirit guides and our ancestors are. So they had the ability to journey. They had the ability to travel. They had the ability to go back to the spirit world, to the world where our guides reside, to the alternative reality, and bring back healing, learning, and wisdom for their tribe. They were they used various methods of divination for guidance. They used various methods of connection with plants and animals for healing and for understanding. They learned through observation, through awareness, through connection, and they also had the ability to travel through dream. So that through the dream, this was one of the practices which they used in the dream work as well. Through the dream work, they would travel to the land where the enemy was, watch upon them, come back with strategy, what the enemy was planning, and come back and share it with their tribe. They would travel different vast lands where the animal was grazing and come back and share this information with the tribe as to this is where the animal is grazing. They could shapeshift physically, which is the ability which we don't have now. They could practically and physically shapeshift into birds or different animals, fly over vast vistas of land, see where the animal was, see where the enemy was, come back and share that information with their tribe and with their fellow members. So this was through the ability of dreams, through the ability to journey, travel to alternative reality, get wisdom from their guides, from their ancestors, by connection to nature, and also by something called shape shifting, where they could physically shift and transform into that animal body and travel from one land to another and come back with information, come back with healing, come back with wisdom, come back with knowledge.
okay. Okay. Are there any schools for this? And do we need any certificate to become, I mean, to practice shamanism?
There are various teachers for shamanic work, and there are some formalized schools in abroad who have kind of modernized the shamanic teachings. Me and Paul, who is my twin flame, also teach various aspects of shamanic work. We have divided it into various workshops. We begin with basic, then we go into advanced, then depending on your interest and to the extent that you want to deepen into the teachings, we have the 1 year mentorship program, which is based on the medicine wheel teachings and connection with nature and different elements of the medicine wheel. Then we have specialized subjects of working with the deceased, the departed souls. We have something of working with energy, clearing of dysfunctional and misplaced energy, which is also very important for working with illness. Then we are working with ancestors and so on. So it goes on. Uh, so certification definitely is not required for shamanic work because it is a very experiential teaching. There are formalized ways of ceremonies and methods and teachings which are also taught, but there are no certifications. Certifications, which me and Paul believe is a component of our ego. When you go to the indigenous societies and you carry the medicine, the ancient ones are able to see the medicine. So they are able to recognize that you carry with the wisdom within you. And so, no, we don't believe in certificate. We don't give certification. What me and Paul offer is our ongoing support and ongoing help. Even when those students have come to us and they have learned basic shamanism 2 years ago, we are still teaching them. We are still helping them integrate the teachings. We run our WhatsApp group and Zoom teachings in online reality where we keep revisiting these concepts, we keep sharing new material, we keep launching exercises which help people to practice, deepen, and integrate. So we just don't teach and run away. We are there for our students 24/7 and even after the workshop is over. So right now we have also begun once a month teachings where we help existing students revisit the old concepts, deepen into the old concepts, and help them bring practical facets of the teaching, of integrating these teachings in a practical way, how to refine, how to deepen, how to work with clients. And so, yeah, the teaching goes on. Just few days ago, I launched an exercise for our students where they're practicing and sharing their experiences. And these are students who have learned from us even 2012, 2013. So we still continue nurturing them, we still continue grooming them and helping them deepen into their teachings. And so whether we teach dream work or ancestral healing or basic or advanced shamanism, we are always there. And this is how we keep helping our teachers. And our students have gone ahead and become very seasoned practitioners. So, suppose me and Paul do not have the time, we keep referring clients to those students who have groomed up and become an expert practitioner and skilled practitioner. And if they get stuck up, they always come back to us, and we are more than ready to help them. So, certification is just a ego driven mechanism of the patriarchal world, of the masculine patriarchal world, which just fuels the ego. Which what all matters is how good you are, how impeccable you are in your practice, and how much you want to deepen and how much you want to practice. That's all that matters.
Yeah,
And even the clients will recognize once you are a seasoned practitioner, they will know. And so that's all is needed.
I agree with you. Okay. They also say that to be a shaman or a practitioner, as you said, shamanic practitioner, you have to go through many difficulties and suffering in your own life. I mean, if you don't go, I mean, it means that you can't be a shaman, or is like it can be a shamanic practitioner, or is it like
Well, the shamanic
kind of
practitioners, the shamanic path and the shamanic way of life is open to everyone. And anybody, including kids, come for our workshops. Kids as young as 7 years old, 8 years old, have come to our basic shamanism workshop. We keep it open because they are the best, because they have no logic, no ego. They are not able to, they don't have the critical filter which we as adults have developed. And so we question, we don't trust. Kids are best. They absorb the teachings, they connect very fast. So no, we don't have to necessarily go through wounding per se to in order to be a shamanic practitioner. However, any healer, for that matter, has to go through his or her own initiation called life. And so, unless I've gone through my own shit, my own fuckery, my own dysfunction, I will be teaching from theory and not experience. And many people ask me which books to read. Honestly, I don't know because I don't read many books. For me, the teachings and the learnings come through my own initiation called my own life, the wounding that I have gone through. So, like we say in all healing practices, the spiritual path is the journey of a wounded healer. What does that mean? The healer goes through his or her own life journey, life initiation, pain, trauma, transforms it, deepens through it, learns through it, and then is able to share it forward. Today, I connect to my students from my heart, from the trauma and the experiences and the wounding and the initiations, if you call it that way, that I have gone through. I learned through my own experience and observation. This is how indigenous shamans learnt. There were no formal teachings, there were no Google, there was no books, there was who taught them? How did they know that this flower has this medicine or this power? This tree will heal this particular illness. If you look at Ayurveda, it is nothing but shamanic because this is the wisdom of the trees and the plants which our ancient ancestors knew. How did they know? Through their connection to the tree, to nature, to plants. Bach flower is nothing but shamanism. How did Edward Bach know ages ago? There was no book, but he connected to those flowers and connected to those plants, and that's how he knew that if I take the medicine of this plant or this tree, it heals ABC. They observed how animals behaved. They observed how the sun and the moon behaved. In fact, they had better wisdom and better knowledge than today's modern day scientists. Modern day scientists are learning everything through research, which our ancient ancestors already knew. They knew about energy, they knew about matter, they knew about astronomy, astrology. They made their homes based on the seasons, based on the winds, based on how the cycles changed of the sun and the moon and of the stars. If you look at ancient buildings and ancient rock formations and all those rock art, They did not even have language in the ancient times. That's how they drew. If you look at rock art, petroglyphs, which we called it in the modern language, that is their way of communication. That is their. They have driven the DNA. They have driven the snakes. They have drawn the sun and the moon, and their housing was so profound that they knew how to protect themselves from wind, from cold weather, harsh weather. They knew how to navigate from one season to another based on the winter or the summer, and they were so aligned to living in harmony and rhythm with the seasons and living in alignment and rhythm with nature. This is what we have forgotten. This is what the shamanic way of being teaches us to do, and that is why I say we are not doing anything grand. We are going back to what we already were and what we already knew. We are going back from a linear life, of a life of doing, 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 of proving, 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 of so-called expansion and so-called modernization, to basics, to heart centered living, to living in alignment and rhythm with nature, from dominating nature to building a partnership with nature. The modern man, unfortunately, wants to control. There is greed, there is power, and wants to control nature, wants to dominate nature. Can anybody really do that? And this is why we are where we are in our times of COVID. So these times of COVID are also forcing us to go back to our roots. And what are those roots? To live a simple life, to live in alignment with nature, to bring back the feminine ways of being and bring balance with the masculine ways of being rather than the patriarchal ways of domination, greed, and control. We were forced in the times of COVID to retreat, to go back within ourselves. And that is why, if shamanism is important in any time, it's more than ever now, because it is taking us back to our roots, to that simplified way of living, to not live from greed, but to live from our heart, to the feminine way of being, which says nobody is higher, nobody is lower, which believes in community and collaboration and not competition. And that's how the ancient ancestors lived. That is also the feminine way of being and living. And that is what shamanism is also all about. It takes us back to our center, to the center of the wheel, to the center of our hearts, going back and connecting and living from simplicity, living in alignment with nature, understanding the cyclical way of being, understanding it is not about proving, it is not about greed, it is about living together as a community and as one. It is about honoring the earth, it is about living in gratitude to the earth. As you rightly said, they did not kill all the animals, even though there were 100. They killed only one because there were no agriculture, and right now we have so many options, and yet we are living in so much greed. And they honored the animal. They took permission from the animal. The animal also chose to sacrifice its life for the tribe and community. And that was a relationship of honor and reciprocity. And the animal was not killed for food. They made sure that they used the entire body of the animal, and they apologized. They lived in honor of the animal. They did not abuse the animal. They did not abuse nature. They did not live in greed. And that's what the fundamental shamanic teachings are also all about. And so when the colonization happened, when the colonies came in search of gold to these indigenous societies, came in search of wealth to these indigenous societies, including India, they exploited because of greed. Shamans went in hiding, and the shamanic way of being disappeared because it all became based on abuse, killings, greed, acquisition, and control. And that's what our life is now also transferring into. And after 2012, where the planetary shift has happened, the feminine way of living in communion with nature, in harmony with nature, in collaboration, in community is coming back, in alignment. And the sooner we learn these lessons of not exploitation, of not domination, but living together as a web of life, of honoring the earth, Even in India, we call the earth our mother, but look how much we pollute and corrupt and trash our mother, our rivers. And it is really very sad to see. How did we forget this ancient way of being? Where have we come as humanity? And it is this, in these times, this is why the shamanic teachings are very important, because they take us back to the roots of honoring the earth, of honoring the animals, of honoring nature rather than exploiting. And realizing that the earth that we live, that we leave for our future is our responsibility. We talk about healing the earth. Earth doesn't need healing. She has survived through millennia. She will wipe out humanity if we humans don't learn to balance and don't learn to come back to honoring and living in balance and living in alignment. And if there is too much greed, earth will reinvent herself and reborn, and she will destroy and she will recreate. It is we humans who need to learn how important it is to go back to basics. And that's what COVID also did. It is bringing us back to basics. And I hope that we learn these lessons sooner than later. Sooner than later.
Have you had an opportunity to meet a real shaman? I mean, in your life, have you? I mean, the real ones, like from the ancient
I
time.
have
Have you
met
ever met one?
many Native American elders when I traveled to the US. I have indeed met many Native American elders. They have done a lot of ceremonial work for us. They have held when we took our tribe to the retreat in Sedona. We had an elder, Native American elder, who held a traditional sweat lodge ceremony for us and took us through these teachings in a very traditional way. Me and Paul have met many indigenous men throughout our travels in the US. So for sure, we haven't formally been initiated, but we have met many of them. We have learnt a lot from them. We have communicated. Some of them are very close to me, even still, and connected to me as brothers on Facebook as well. So yeah, I have met many. I've had the opportunity to meet many Native American elders in my life, and I
That was
and I
good
have
to
always questioned, as to why have I not yet met an indigenous shaman with who can take me under his or her wing and teach me. And I went to Mount Shasta in 2019, and I had a Native American elder who was taking me through the different mountains and the forests in Shasta. And I asked him the same question, and he gave me a very beautiful answer, and it kind of brought me home. He said, Neelam, probably your journey is to learn through observation and connection. And I said, that's how my life has been. I don't read, I don't have many teachers, but this is how I learn. And then I was watching an episode of Anne with an E. And Anne has an opportunity in one of the seasons, I think it's season 2 or 3, has an opportunity to visit an Native American or the indigenous tribes. And she questions them the same thing which I question. How do you learn? How do you know these things? And then the girl, who's Anne's friend and her mother, replies to Anne that we learn through our connection with nature. We learn through our observation. We learn through our communication. And that closed the bridge for me because it gave me the answer that this is how the indigenous ancestors acquired all their wisdom and knowledge. And I am just reliving that. And having had many indigenous lifetimes, it made so much sense to me that why I don't like books, I don't like reading, why I have had many teachers in the human form for sure. And I have read some books for sure. But majority of my teachings and learnings and upgradation of my DNA and my soul journey and purpose comes through my own initiations of going through mess and going through trauma and going through my own experiences, understanding what is happening within me through observation inside and observation outside, through awareness. And that's why my teachings are very experiential. And that's why students connect to me because I don't talk theory, I talk experience. I talk what I have gone through and how I have learned. And so that's what my pulse is, and that's what closes the bridge in me. And maybe if I have to find a indigenous teacher who will take me indeed through these initiations, I will, but I don't think it's a part of my journey in this lifetime. And I find the teachers who take me through ceremonies, who take me through my learnings through conversation, through communication, and through my connection. Again, I learn through connection through them. And I had a Native American brother in California last year who was very kind enough to tell me to do his own cleansing. And I was like so humbled. I said, will I be able to do it right? He said, of course. You are to open up these teachings and you are to trust in yourself. And he actually did a prayer ceremony for me wherein he said, may my sister open up to these teachings and realize that she is the wise one and she may share these teachings from her heart and she is the wise woman already, and that makes a lot of a difference. So for all of us, the teachings and the wisdom is actually also within. I just play the role of igniting that spark and help you reconnecting with that spark. And once you allow, that spark reconnects everything. That's all it is to it. And so, yes, we offer many teachings in a formal way, but it is up to you how much you allow me to reignite that spark in you and help you remember. That's all shamanism is all about. And it's the journey of our soul. So, various healing aspects. What is the difference? People ask me. Crystals help us connect and heal through crystals. Reiki help us heal and connect through universal life force energy. Some teachings connect at the thought level, the mind level. Shamanism connect at the level of the soul. So of course we have guides in the animal form, we have guides in the human form and the light beings and all of that. But the crux of the teachings is to integrate the purpose and the life that our souls have chosen and to heal at the level of the soul. Because the fundamental principle of shamanic teachings is that everything is a soul and so is my own soul. So while we talk about healing the mind, healing the body, healing the land, and healing etc., 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 in shamanic teachings, we not only connect to nature and connect to our guides and animal guides and learn to heal through them, but we also learn to connect to our own soul and heal our own soul and understand what is the soul health all about. That's wherein all the aspects that you were talking about of losing our power, of soul trauma, soul retrieval, clearing undesirable energy through the process called extraction will come into play. And what kind of healing is required? We don't know until we connect to our soul, until we connect to our guides and ask. So just as you have a stomach ache, you go to the doctor. Will the doctor prescribe you medicine directly or will he do the surgery? No, it doesn't happen. The doctor asks certain questions. The doctor connects to your body, does the diagnosis of your body, and then will understand what is the root cause of your stomach ache. What is the root cause of your illness? It can be through food, it can be through stress, it can be through any other reason. You may have a kidney stone because of which your stomach may be aching. So this is what will, so there are no standard answers in shamanic work. The answers come through connection to our own soul, through connecting to our own guides and power animals. And when we embark on a shamanic journey, we ask these questions. So if a person comes to me with schizophrenia or with any kidney stone or with any other illness, there are no stereotypical answers because each person is different, each soul journey is different. So we will connect to the soul of that person and ask, where is the person still not in alignment with his or her soul journey? So the ultimate crux is, if I am not aligned with my journey of my soul, there will be an imbalance which may manifest in the form of an illness, in the form of a financial issue, in the form of a health issue, in the form of any other emotional or psychological issue. And so at the outset, stomach ache or depression may be depression. But since each spiritual journey, each soul journey is different, unless I connect to your guides, to your animal guides, to your soul, and understand what is going on. Why did this person manifest this imbalance? It could be financial imbalance, it could be imbalance of relationships, it could be imbalance of health or illness. What is the imbalance? Where is this lack of alignment? So this is my soul, this is my physical journey. So what is this gap? What is this, and where is this lack of alignment? And what can I do to bridge this gap? And based on that, the guidance comes as to this person is supposed to do XYZ to bring this balance, to bring this alignment so that Health is optimum, wealth is optimum, relationships are in balance. So ultimately, as shamanic practitioner, we strive towards balance, because if there is anything in imbalance, then we manifest all the problems. And the problems and the challenges are nothing but universes and our guides way to draw our attention. This is where you are not aligned. This is where you are out of balance. And how we can bring back balance to that aspect of the life. That's all the work is all about.
How does it work for animals? And like you heal the plants also, sometimes they need healing.
Yeah, yeah.
You animals, birds. So how does it work for animals?
So the method of connection will be the same through your intuition or through the shamanic journey and connecting to the essence or to the energy or to the body of that animal or that plant. So the crux of the method will remain the same. The person with whom you're connecting will be different. So for example, in shamanism, we say that everything is energy, everything is alive, and everything has a message. Everything has a soul. So animal also has a soul. Plant also has a soul. My relationship has a soul. My business has a soul. My house has a soul. This water bottle has a soul. The drum that I use in shamanism is also has a soul. So using shamanic tools and methods, we can connect to the soul and the energy of anything and everything. It could be nature, it could be animate things, it could be inanimate things, it could be animals, it could be my own self. So the method will remain the same. Connecting, so if there is an animal who is not feeling well, the same process of connection will apply. We will connect to the animal's body, we'll connect to the animal's energy, connect to the animal's soul, and see what the animal needs. See what the animal is telling us. See what the animal needs for healing. Whether is healing is possible, whether the animal has to go through it, what is going on. And so same method like in animal communication. You connect through telepathy, you connect through your senses, the processes may be different, but the ultimate end result may be the same. So you connect to different aspects of the animal's life. You connect through the soul. You can take them to the healing center for healing. You can ask our guides to heal the soul of the animal, heal the body of the animal. So it depends what is going on. Sometimes the guides and the soul of the animal may suggest a physical healing required in physical reality. So we may come back and do that process, and so on and so forth. So it's always a combination of tools, and it is the same method that applies to humans, which will apply for any other aspect of our healing. I have done healing for homes using the same methods, because even our home has a soul. So our home will also have our power animal. Power animal is a guide in the animal form who chooses to be with us. Our the work that we offer is in the name of shamanic vision. So even shamanic vision has a soul. Even shamanic vision soul will have a desire, will have expectations, will have needs, will have energies of others attached to it at times. So we need to do the clearing. It will also have power laws, so we need to do the healing for that. We will. It also has a soul. So all the methods and the tools that apply for humans as healing will apply. It will also have power animals, so we also have power animals for our work. So all the same tools will apply for healing of anything and everybody and anybody.
So basically, you don't need any diagnosis or anything before you start the healing sessions.
Yeah, so
You
diagnosis of
just
course will
connect
be
with it.
there,
That's the
right?
thing. You no,
Diagnosis of
no,
course
from
will be
the
there. Otherwise, how will I know? So, for example, I have a home in which a lot of electronic instruments are getting spoiled on and on and on and on. And every time I'm investing my energy in repairs. So I can, how will I know what kind of healing my home needs? So I will have to connect to the spirit of my home. Now in shamanism, when we use the word spirit, it doesn't necessarily mean earthbound spirits. It means the energy. It means consciousness. It means the soul. So I will connect to the soul through the shamanic processes of my home, have a communication with my home, and ask what is going on. Why is it giving me so much trouble? Where is there lack of alignment? So the house will communicate to me what is going on and what kind of healing is needed. Based on that, I will do the healing processes either in the journey form or in the physical reality, depending on what my house and my home needs. So there was a time in my life where shamanic vision energies were feeling very stuck. So I did not know what was going on, and Paul connected to the spirit of shamanic vision and asked what is going on. So we realized there were certain energies of other people attached to it. There were certain energies of other things. The energy of shamanic vision was feeling depleted. So certain processes which we know shamanically were done to clear undesirable energies, to protect the field of shamanic vision, and to enhance the power of shamanic vision through a process which we do in shamanic work for our own self also when we as humans experience power loss. So there was a process called power animal retrieval, which the guide suggested, which the spirit of shamanic vision suggested, and we did that. And then our work was very normal, and then our home for which we did the healing was very normal. So, of course, diagnosis will be required to understand first what is going on. As I said, I go to the doctor with stomachache. He will not prescribe me medicine. So same way, I will not assume. We be a hollow bone, we connect to their energies and find out what is going on, what healing is needed. And only then, so first diagnosis will be the first step for sure. For sure.
Okay, you are talking about soul and the spirits. So when you do you always encounter good spirits or bad spirits, and how do you like differentiate that like the spirit is helpful and not an evil one? And are there other entities also like, and do I mean like animals and humans that pass on, they all have spirits, right? So they help you with the healing, or are there other entities that help you also with the healing? And how do you differentiate
So,
between good
so
and
basic,
bad and evil?
so this is the biggest misconception of shamanic work, that when we say the word spirit in shamanic work, it is immediately associated with earthbound spirit. It is not earthbound spirit. When we work with spirit, we work with our soul, we work with our guides and power animals, and they in shamanic terms are known as word spirit. Even the creator, God or goddess that we call in normal terms, we call it great spirit. So the word spirit refers to the creator, refers to the soul, refers to consciousness. And so we will have guides in many forms. Our ancestors who have moved on and evolved can also be our guides. We can have angels as our guides. We can have light beings as our guides. We can have multi-dimensional beings as our guides. We can have any other spirit guides as our guides. We can have any guides in the light being form or in the human form. For that, we journey to the upper world. And the beings that we encounter are pure, benevolent, and kind spirits and kind beings. So when I say spirit, it means guides. And we go into the lower world, we have the guides in the animal forms, or which we call as power animals. So these two put together are only and only kind and benevolent beings who help us in our journey, who help us move forward. Yes, there is an aspect of shamanism which works with the departed spirits, but that is a branch called psychopomp, which is only for advanced practitioners who want to work in that. It is absolutely not mandatory to work with the departed spirits. So psychopomp is basically conductor of the dead. So even the dead can sometimes be earthbound and sometimes need healing and help. So there is a branch of shamanism which works for healing the departed souls. And so there is specialized knowledge and expertise required for that. There's a lot of deepening and practice required before you can venture into that. And these are always also safe practices. None of our practitioners have still gotten stuck up in any of the realm, because these are safe realms. Various methods and rituals and protocols are taught to be followed for working with the departed souls. And in shamanism, we don't do the work. We are just a medium. We are just a channel. We are just a hollow bone. What does a hollow bone mean? The healing happens through me. I'm just a conduit. The healing is always done by the guides and the animal guides and the power animals. So there is absolutely nothing to be worried about evil spirits. There is nothing like that which people keep talking about, that there are demons and there are this and there are that. These are all various misconceptions in shamanic work. Yes, there are certain spirits who don't move on. There are, and those are aspects which are taught in the advanced practices, wherein we learn to work with the departed souls. But people who just want to learn the basics, there are people who may choose not to work with those aspects of the being. So for them, there is nothing to worry, because we only work with kind and benevolent beings. We don't work with earthbound spirits. We work with our guides who are higher evolved souls. We work with deities. Some will have Sai Baba as a guide, some will have Shiva as a guide, some will have angels as a guide, some will have star beings as guide. There are guides which we don't even know the names of. they will be our guides in these alternative realities, and we will have animal guides. So we purely work with those higher beings, and there is absolutely nothing to be afraid of or worried about.
So how do you connect with your power guides, and how do you connect with your spirit guides and power animals? Like, is there a way, or is there some
Yes, so
like
there is
you
a
need
process
to?
called a shamanic journey, and through the process of these tools, we teach how to safely travel to these alternative realities. So, through the purpose, whatever purpose we may have, we will learn these tools in the workshop, in the basic workshop, where we teach tools how to journey and how to travel to these alternative realities, how to find who our spirit guides and guides are. For different purposes, we may have different guides, who our animal guides are, how to work with them, how to align with them, how to seek wisdom from them, how to seek messages from them, how to work with for our own healing and for the healing of our clients with them. So these are all basically fundamental aspects which we cover in the basic workshop.
Okay, so you need classes for that. Like, it's not possible that suddenly like they don't connect. I mean, or they don't get in touch with you, or like, or we are not so evolved that we can get their messages. Is that
Well,
so?
for sure, we can. If you want to learn it in a formalized way, you can of course come to the workshop. But for the others, our power animals and our guides always are trying to reach us. So if we are intuitive, we can always connect to them. They make our presence felt through physical reality. They make their presence felt in our meditations, in our other prayers, in through our dreams. So there are various ways in which these animal guides also cross our way. So for all of the audience who are listening, just just go back in time and see which animal you are attracted to. Which animal has
Mhm.
crossed your path again and again and again? Which animal has again and again appeared in your dreams? So through these ways, we can of course connect to our animal guides and work with them for sure, for sure. And
Okay.
there will be, you may see that in your meditation, for example, an elephant appears.
Mm.
Few days later, you may dream about an elephant. You may go out and see an elephant. You may switch on the TV and on Discovery Channel they're showing you about an elephant. You may see a newspaper and you may see an elephant. So this is how our guides will keep communicating with us by showing their presence through various means, through signs, through symbols, through synchronicity, and we ought to pay attention to these signs. One of the ways of shamanic teachings is also to pay attention to the signs, symbols, and synchronicities. So through these, we can uh, definitely connect with our animal guides. You can sit in meditation and ask for an animal guide to come to you, which you may need right now, and an animal may appear, and you can talk to that animal. So sure, for sure. But what I was meaning was there are detailed methods of going and journeying into these alternative realities. There are detailed processes of connecting to these animals and how to connect with these animals and how to work with these animals. What gifts these each animal brings. There are various detailed teachings for that. There are processes for learning how to retrieve our lost power, retrieve our soul. So for sure, for those formalized teachings, in order for us to learn them in a structured way, I would definitely advise people to join if these teachings call up to join us in the workshop and learn about them in much detail. But for brief understanding, they can appear for you to you through your meditation for sure, for sure.
Okay. And do you conduct these workshops for the our readers and for our audience benefit? Like, do you conduct these workshops like monthly basis, or like you have your own
We have
schedule or
our own
something?
schedule right now. We have several workshops going on. Few days ago, I finished teaching about the feminine way of being and the feminine and the womb work and womb shamanism. Right now, our current basic shamanism workshop is in process, which Paul is conducting from Idaho, and I am co-facilitating. The last few sessions will be there on Saturday and Sunday. So, viewers who are interested can reach out to us on Facebook or through our website and stuff like that, and we will have the schedule of workshops ongoing. We just completed ancestral work and dream work as well, which is also a core aspect of the shamanic teachings. So we have different teachings scheduled for different months and so on and so forth. And so for those viewers who want to connect, the website is www.shamanic, SHAMANIC hyphen vision, VISION dot net. And of course, you can find me on Facebook. My profile is Neelam Nanwani, and I'm sure you will put all those details in your talks as well. And Paul
Yeah,
Hinsberger,
I'll do that.
yeah, and Paul Hinsberger, and these are our websites. And
He's your he's your like
yeah,
partner kind of
yeah, we are
like
Twin
person,
Flames, and
both
we
of you.
co-facilitate. Yeah, we are Twin Flames, and we co-facilitate
He's
a lot of workshops together.
okay. And how did you meet him? Like a little about that, like I mean,
That's another story for another episode, maybe.
yeah, I thought like maybe we need to have another interview for
Yeah,
that. Like,
we
how did
met on
you?
a website called Spiritual Singles, and then we've been together since 2012. And
Okay,
yeah, we teach many workshops together as well.
you're daily based, is it?
I'm Ahmedabad
You're
based.
based in
Based in
you're
Ahmedabad.
Ahmedabad. Okay. So thank you, Neelam. And it was really a pleasure talking to you and understanding this. And I'm sure our readers and our audience would also be. And it was great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. And I started talking, and I went in a flow. And I hope the viewers get what they meant to get out of it. And if you have questions, please feel free to reach out to Anu, or you can reach out to me as well. Thank you so much, Anu. Thank you for having me. And
Thank
thank you
you.
all
Thank
for
you.
listening.
No, it was really a pleasure. And I had a lot of questions and a lot of doubts, and I'm sure everybody has, and a lot of misconceptions. Thank you for clearing those. I mean, it's really helpful. And
Thank,
I think, yeah, somewhere I also do connect.
thank you so much.
Thank you.